So, continuing the summer report series today, we're taking a look at the Columbus Blue Jackets. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe. Let's take a look at the Columbus Blue Jackets. So, this was obviously a tough offseason for the Columbus Blue Jackets, and it's been beat into Blue Jacket fans' mind that this team is not good enough. You lost your starting goaltender in Sergei Bobrovsky. You lost one of your best scoring forwards up front in Artemi Panarin. You traded for Matt Duchene and Ryan Dzingel as rentals, and unfortunately gave up assets in those trades as well. So what do the Columbus Blue Jackets look like heading into the 2019-2020 season? Well, you may be a little bit surprised by my opinion, but let's take a look at the salary cap, who's going to be a free agent next year, as well as remaining restricted free agents at this time. So starting off, Columbus not bringing in guys like Artemi Panarin and Sergei Bobrovsky, not re-signing them. A little over $15 million for the Columbus Blue Jackets. So they have a decent amount of cap space to work with if they need to get a deal done with a player. So next season, that money's going to go away pretty quickly. You have Josh Anderson, Pierre-Luc Dubois, and Marcus Hannikainen as the bigger free agents for next season, as well as Zach Werenski, who is currently right now a restricted free agent, but no problems with Werenski. They don't have to worry about someone offering him a trade. He's not available to be offer sheeted. So that's good news for the Blue Jackets. They don't have to worry about that. With that said, there was talk of an offer sheet to the Toronto Maple Leafs for a guy like Mitch Marner. Columbus was one of the teams that was supposedly in on Mitch Marner. Things obviously fell through. I believe it had to do more with term, but I don't think teams are willing to go that route. So Columbus was one of the teams that was in, and I might have been talking about now how Columbus is still in on Mitch Marner. I think there's still a possibility, but to be realistic, if they sign Werenski here, I have to think at least $5 million. Samuel Girard just got around the same amount of money. I have to think around $5 million. That means Mitch Marner has around $10 million to work with if he wants to get a deal done with a team like Columbus. So, especially with guys like Josh Anderson, Dubois coming up next year, there's no need to force yourself to get in a situation where you bring in a guy like Marner. Taking a look at the starting lineup, the line combinations. Now, this is obviously not what the opening night roster is going to look like. It's just an idea of what Tortorella may be thinking of doing. So taking a look, they have Gustav Nyquist, Pierre-Luc Dubois, and Cam Atkinson on that first line. Now, this is a pretty solid line for the Columbus Blue Jackets. And considering how they lost guys like Panarin and Duchene and Dzingel, they were able to add. I mean, Nyquist, yeah, he's turning 30. He's a little bit older now, but he's still a really reliable player. He can put the puck in the back of the net. This might be a really key, undervalued signing. Come July 1st, nobody was really talking about it. We may be talking about it this fall. Cam Atkinson ended the season unbelievably. He played really well down the stretch, was really hot coming into the playoffs, and he was a difference maker in those said playoffs. Obviously, Pierre-Luc Dubois is the main guy up front for the Blue Jackets. Really great player, great pick by Jarmo Kekalainen a couple years back to bring him in. Now taking a look at the second line, and this is where losing guys like Panarin and Duchene and Dzingel hurt you a little bit more. You have Nick Foligno, Boone Jenner down the middle, and Josh Anderson on the right side. So I think these are better third-line players, if I'm going to be completely honest. And I think that's why bringing in a guy like Mitch Marner attracted Jarmo Kekalainen, because Nick Foligno, he's a great player. He's the captain of the Blue Jackets. I would not put him as a second-line center. Or a second-line winger. He's really more a third-line player. And, he could fill in at spots to be in the top six with injury and things like that. But to have that as your starting lineup going into the regular season, I'm not too big of a fan of that. Boone Jenner playing down the middle. He's played down the middle before. He He's more of a winger, but he can play center, so they have him down the middle. And again, it's that lack of depth down the middle that's starting to worry me with the Blue Jackets. We had a really high hopes for a couple of players down the middle for the Blue Jackets, and they really haven't turned out right now. So this would be a great year for some of those guys to turn things around. Take a look at Josh Anderson. Again, he's going to be a free agent next year, so he may be looking for a breakout season. He had a great year last year with the Blue Jackets, but they're going to expect a little bit more from him now that he's in the top six heading into opening night, more than likely, for the Blue Jackets. And now taking a look at the third line, and this is where everything starts to go off a little bit. So you have Oliver Bjorkstrand, who played with the Lake Erie Monsters or the Cleveland Monsters, whatever they were called, back a couple years ago when they won the Calder Cup, the AHL championship. He was a part of that team there with the Blue Jackets organization. Emil Bemstrom. So there's a guy that we don't really know too much about. They brought him in, so hopefully he's going to be a big. They're going to be expecting something out of him. He's playing in, the bottom six, but who knows? He may be moving, or he may be one of those guys that moves into the top six here and there if he becomes a reliable player. He may be a wild card here for the Blue Jackets. And then looking down the middle, and this is a guy that I really hope he turns things around. He's had a couple of tough years since he was drafted by the Blue Jackets. He had one or two really good seasons and has started to decline since then, and that is Alexander Wennberg. Where is Alexander Wennberg when you need him? He hasn't been there recently for the Blue Jackets. They really need this guy to turn things around, and this is what I'm talking about with a guy like Boone Jenner being the second-line center right now. That could easily change if Wennberg starts to turn things around. He could be in the top six, for the center's position on the second line for the Blue Jackets. So he really needs to get things going. They were looking to trade him last season. He's got a really big contract for what he's been producing over the past year or two. He really needs to get back on track. Now taking a look at the fourth line. You have Alex Texier, Riley Nash down the middle, and Marcus Hannikainen, who is going to be a free agent next year as well. So taking a look at this line, I actually kind of like this line. Alex Texier, we saw how well he played down the stretch for the Blue Jackets as well as in the playoffs. He was a pretty good player for the Blue Jackets, so they're going to expect more of that this season. Riley Nash, a good veteran leader down the middle. He spent a couple of seasons in the NHL. He's been here for a while, and he's going to help some of these younger guys, grow their game. Then obviously on the right side, you have Marcus Hannikainen, who I mentioned earlier, will be a free agent. I would expect a pretty good season from Hannikainen. He's going to look to make some money. This is the year for him to try and do that. Taking a look at the defense. So pending Zach Werenski gets re-signed before puck drop in the fall. Zach Werenski and Seth Jones. I like this tandem. And this is why I think the Columbus Blue Jackets will be okay. I like that defense. I like Zach Werenski and Seth Jones. Really good pairing there for the Blue Jackets. Yes, you don't have Panarin. Yes, you don't have Bobrovsky. But you don't have to worry about that defense. I really like the defense in Columbus. And then you have Ryan Murray and David Savard. So David Savard's a little bit more of a wild card for me. He's getting old. He's definitely dropping off in his production for the Blue Jackets. But he's a good stay-at-home guy, and they're going to expect him to help out and mentor a young guy like Ryan Murray. And Ryan Murray is the other guy. I'm expecting a pretty good season for Ryan Murray. He has a chance here in the top four. He's another one like Wennberg. He needs to break out and really show what he can do at the NHL level and what they projected him to be when they drafted him early in the draft a couple of years back. And then the third pairing, you have Dean Kukin and Marcus Nudavara. Decent pairing. I don't know much about Dean Kukin. I think he played a little bit toward the end of the season for the Blue Jackets. Maybe they need to add a little bit more depth there, but nonetheless, we'll see what happens. Nudavara, again, another guy. I think he's a pretty good player for the Blue Jackets. He played fairly well last season. A younger player, they're going to need that, and hopefully he could end up in the top four with Ryan Murray if David Savard isn't, as good as they. Maybe he declined a little bit more over the summer than Columbus would have hoped. That leaves Nudavara a shot to take a spot in the top four. And then taking a look at the goaltending. So you have Jonas Korpisalo, who was on and off with Sergei Bobrovsky toward the end of the season, and Elvis Merzlikins, I think that's his name. He's going to be the backup for the Blue Jackets. The Blue Jackets, man, they had a tough offseason, and I thought losing John Tavares was tough. This is pretty tough for the Blue Jackets as well. They lose Artemi Panarin, their sniper, their goal scorer, makes all these goals look easy. He scored the clutch goals for the Blue Jackets. And Sergei Bobrovsky, being the starting goaltender, he was a reliable goaltender for the Blue Jackets, and he has walked away. But looking at the positive here for the Blue Jackets, I like some of that young talent they have there in Columbus. You know what? The goaltending is a little bit worrisome, but we'll see what this Elvis Merzlikins kid can do for the Blue Jackets. They're expecting big things from him. Korpisalo, same thing as well. He's gonna be the starter heading into this year. So if he wants that starting position, he's gonna have some competition with Elvis. Do I have the Columbus Blue Jackets making the playoffs? And it's easy to say the Metro is one of the toughest divisions in the NHL. Now you have the New Jersey Devils and the New York Rangers on the climb. You could argue that the Flyers as well, but we'll get into that when we talk about the Flyers summer report. But this is a team that they're a wild card in my opinion. They could either end up being 8th in the Metropolitan Division, or they could possibly make the playoffs. I don't think it'll be one of the top 3 spots in the division. I think it would have to be a wild card spot for the Columbus Blue Jackets. But we'll have to wait and see. They have some really good young talent, like I mentioned. There's some guys that we don't know too much about, and we're going to have to see what they can do next year. So let me know what you guys think of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe. Check out our Instagram at Goal Line Hockey as well. Trying to get onto that a little bit. And as well, make sure to check out our playlist on the rest of the Summer Report series. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.